After a major public backlash and outrage at ABC for the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel Live, after millions upon millions of people canceled their Disney subscriptions, after stockholders were losing billions and billions of dollars on a daily basis, now ABC and its parent company Disney has decided to reverse course and to bring back Jimmy Kimmel Live. Tyrone Bowman Live. We're going to talk about this and have a detailed discussion. I found this article in the Hollywood Reporter, and the headline reads, quote, Jimmy Kimmel to return to ABC on Tuesday after show's controversial suspension. The Walt Disney Company, in a new statement, says the move was made, quote, to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country, end quote. Now, this article was written by James Hiberb and Alex Wiepren. So let's talk about this. Let me just jump right into it, no prolonging it, not waiting for anybody to come into the comment section. I'm just going to hit it and quit it. They said the reason for bringing back the show is, quote, to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country, end quote. That's a lie. That is an outright lie. As you know, on one of the last programs I talked about the Constitution and censorship. ABC and its parent company, Walt Disney, called themselves trying to enforce censorship after being forced behind the scenes by billionaires who decided that they were going to control what comedians and what individuals can and cannot say. And now they claim that they didn't want to add fuel, quote unquote, to the fire because of what's going on in the country. No, you're bringing back Jimmy Kimmel Live because you're losing billions and billions and billions of dollars. You're bringing back Jimmy Kimmel Live because the public is fed up with you. They're pissed off. They're outraged of you canceling the show without provocation, without cause, without a given reason factor. That's why you're bringing back Jimmy Kimmel Live. You're bringing back Jimmy Kimmel Live because the subscriptions to Walt Disney have fallen by the hundreds of thousands. And people don't like what you did to Jimmy Kimmel. It made no sense to begin with. So Jimmy Kimmel is getting back on the air, according to the Hollywood Reporter. The ABC late night host is returning to broadcast on Tuesday, following a brief but momentous suspension that sparked a national debate over the Trump administration's pressure tactics and the modern limits and consequences of free speech. That's what this is about. It's about stymieing free speech. It's about allowing one political group of people to decide what we can and cannot say. It's about bowing down to MAGA and allowing MAGA to control everything from the Constitution to the Declaration of Independence to politicians to Congress and to the Senate. They don't want anyone to have an opposing point of view about anything, even if it's in a discourse, even if it's in an amicable fashion. Even if individuals are just debating about something, they want everything to be one-sided and they want it their way. Quote, last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country, quote. ABC's ABC parent, the Walt Disney Company, said in a statement Monday, quote, "It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday," end quote. That's a lie. Jimmy Kimmel said, "You all never talked to him." Now you want to save face. You want to save your behinds. Jimmy Kimmel made it abundantly clear you never talked to him. You canceled the show. You forced him off the premises. You forced him out of his office. He didn't even have an opportunity to speak to his staff and say anything about leaving. That's how corporate America works. You know, what's wrong? You got something? Let me talk to corrupt. You got something against gay people? I mean, so what? If a person is gay, and what? What is it any of your business about a person's sexuality? I don't care if you don't like me or if you don't like this program or if you don't like the content. Frankly, I don't give a damn. Now respond to that. Now let me get back to this article. Jimmy Kimmel said that they never discussed it with him. They just simply said, your show is canceled. And that's what's going on in this country. Cancel culture. Cowards working behind the scenes day and night, getting people fired from their jobs because individuals don't agree with them, because they're gearing up for the midterm elections and they're going to vote against MAGA, the MAGA politicians. So they want people to bow down to MAGA. That's what this is about. The move follows an extraordinary week in the media that kicked off with Kimmel making a somewhat vaguely worded on-air comment on Monday's Jimmy Kimmel Live about Charlie Kirk's assassin that could easily be read as suggesting the suspect was a MAGA conservative. Well, it was MAGA who said it was a Democrat. It was MAGA who blamed the Democrats. It was a MAGA Republican politician who said, quote, "The Democrats own this." Remember the lady? She was vehemently adamant. Democrats own this, end quote. That's what she said. They were hoping that it would have been a Democrat, and they were hoping that somebody black would have been the assassin. That's why the governor of Utah was so dismayed and so brokenhearted that someone within Utah is allegedly responsible for this. And individuals have to pay attention to the vague, sneerish words that these people speak with, attempting to malign anything, anyone, and anybody that doesn't agree with them. America is in trouble. Bottom line, you all can pretend that you don't see or hear or know. Inflation is up, out of control. Food prices are out of control. Millions of people have lost their Medicaid and Medicare. Hundreds of thousands of people are losing their jobs on a daily basis. The job statistics through the Labor Department is so pathetic and so dismal. They're forced not to even talk about how pathetic the job market is. The economy is not robust. The economy is not booming. All is not well here on the home front. Dismay, disunity, chaos, pandemonium, and confusion is running rampant in this nation. On a daily basis, minute by minute, second by second. Many times individuals are online speaking recklessly out of their mouths, just saying any and everything because of pure emotion and emotionalism, not realizing that there is consequences for their actions. So don't give us that crap about individuals falsely blaming MAGA. The alleged suspect isn't a Democrat, that's for sure. He didn't come from a Democratic household. The quote went viral, sparking plenty of online backlash. On Wednesday, FCC Chair Brendan Carr threatened ABC's affiliate licenses over the comment. Affiliate groups Nexstar, which is seeking FCC approval for an upcoming merger, and Sinclair told ABC they would preempt Kimball's show. Nexstar insisted in a subsequent statement that their decision was made independent of Carr's comments, but the timing made that tough to believe. Frankly, Jimmy Kimmel should not go back to ABC. Go someplace else. Pack your tent up, pack your successful show up, go someplace. You don't have to beg these people. You don't have to grovel at their feet. They need him. He doesn't need them. And this is a side note, but this is for a lot of you who are in the job market. Make your opportunity for yourself. Don't put your heart and soul into a company or to a CEO or corporate America. Do not give all your time, energy, ingenuity, creativity, and intellectuality pouring into these mega-owned corporations, and then they just treat you like garbage and trash and throw you out on the street. Become self-employed. Become an entrepreneur. And if it wasn't for the fact that many of these people did not have governmental contracts and government money, they wouldn't even be on top either. So don't think that, quote unquote, they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. Who was at the Charlie Kirk memorial yesterday? The one and only Elon Musk. I told you all that they're still friends. They're still friends. He's still working behind the scene, causing chaos. He's still attempting to subvert the upcoming midterm elections. When billionaires fall out, it's different than from when ordinary, everyday, regular people fall out. They'll get together and they'll work out some type of deal. So don't let these corporations take over your mind. Don't give your heart and soul. Don't sell your soul for some bread. You know, there's a story in the Bible about an individual who sold his birthright for some pottage, venison, deer food. And you saw how that situation worked out. So when you bow down to these corporations and bow down to these CEOs who think they're almighty God, and they think they can control you because of a paycheck, let me tell you something. I've been fired from so many jobs, I just laugh about it. It makes no difference because I know I can always start over again. Getting fired sometimes could be the best thing that could ever happen to you because it forces us to use our minds. It forces us to become too creative. It forces us to become an entrepreneur. It forces us to do something that we love to do with passion instead of just working for a paycheck where you're miserable and angry and upset and tired and worn out by the end of the week. Now, let me get back to this article. So behind the scenes, sources say Kimball wasn't planning to apologize on that night's show and instead was going to defend his original comments as being taken out of context and, quote, grossly mischaracterized, end quote, by MAGA. Isn't that what politicians are constantly saying? They are taking my words out of context. That's not what I said. That was not the intent. That's not what I meant. I meant to say it this way. But when somebody from the opposing point of view makes a statement, they say it was intentional. They meant to say it on purpose. There's no room for mischaracterization. But when one of them says something and do something, it's okay because they think they have some type of mandate to rule the minds and hearts and souls of everyday people, but they don't. When I was growing up, especially in my neck of the woods and in my neighborhood, let me tell you something, we never had a whole lot of money, but we knew how to survive. We knew how to be creative. We knew how to collectively work together and share what we had with one another. Nobody went hungry. Nobody was dirty. Nobody was outside. When somebody lost their job, all the neighborhood family and people would come together. Sometimes it was goulash, but everybody had a meal. Sometimes it might have been grilled cheese and some string beans, but everybody had a meal. Nobody's children were dirty and hungry. You better start going back to those days and moments and times and collectively think and work together as one cohesive unit. Then you'll be able to survive and astound your enemies about how you can move on without them. If they loathe you, let them loathe you. If they hate you, let them hate you. If they despise you, let them despise you. If they're jealous of you, let them be jealous of you. But don't sell your soul for nothing. I believe that another passage of scripture says, quote, wherewithal shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul, end quote. And many people are doing that. You've lost your soul, you'll never get it back. So, it says, according to this, that were grossly mischaracterized by MAGA, which Disney brass thought would only inflame the situation. Disney, ABC, then announced Jimmy Kimmel Live was suspended indefinitely, quote, close quote. That means he's fired. That's exactly what that means. You can try to make it sound pretty, make it look pretty. That means the man was fired. On Thursday, a follow-up meeting between Kimmel and Disney execs reportedly ended in a stalemate, with Kimmel sticking to his stated plan of unapologetically defending himself. They wanted him to grovel. Beg, Jimmy, beg, bow down to us, beg for this job. Beg, come on, beg, bark. Tell us you're sorry. We're going to write a statement and you're going to read it. That's what you're going to do, Jimmy. And if you don't do it, we won't give you your job back. Well, you know what you can do with that job, right? Yeah, I thought you'd figure it out. Despite Kimmel's return, it is not immediately clear if his show will be available across the entire country. Sinclair, for its part, had said that it would not go back to running Kimmel's show on its stations until late-night host apologized for his comments, met with Sinclair representatives, and made a donation to Turning Point. You must be crazy. This is the reason why I don't like MAGA. You must be crazy to demand this man take his money and give it to Turning Point because they said so. The organization that Kurt founded, Sinclair, it should be noted, owns the ABC station in Washington, D.C. metro area, among other markets. Go to NBC then. NBC wants to bring the Jimmy Kimmel Live show to its network. You don't have to beg these people. That's what's wrong with America. Men have to stand up and be men. Win, lose, or draw. Say what you mean what you say. Republicans don't apologize for a damn thing that they say about anything or anybody. If anything, they bear down on it and they inflame it. Did the Republicans apologize to Barack Obama for calling his wife a gorilla, a baboon, an ape? Hell no, they didn't apologize. Did they apologize for mistreating him the way they did? He had more class than me because I would have cussed them all out. I would have been their worst nightmare. Not only would I have ruled through executive order, you would have had hell up in Congress. So that's what they demanded Jimmy Kimmel to do. Man, take your show and go over to NBC. Nexstar similarly could also choose to continue to preempt the show, though of course it would still be accessible online across the country after it runs on ABC. How about this? If you want to play that game, Kimmel can just leave and your sagging ratings will continue to sag. And the stockholders will really be pissed off with y'all for trying to stymie him and trying to censor him. And you'll continue to lose billions and billions of dollars. The suspension drew quick praise from President Trump and some vocal right-wing, quote, F around and find out, end quote, Kimmel critics online, but few others. Well, what else would the nasty MAGA Republicans say online? And that's why they get pissed off when people come online and attack them. when individuals say what's on their minds. Instead, it sparked a massive outpouring of criticism of Disney, Nexstar, and Sinclair for caving to pressure. Media pundits, politicians, Hollywood unions, celebrities, other talk show hosts, and even some Republican leaders such as Texas Senator Ted Cruz and Kentucky Senator Rand Paul condemned the series of the events as a dangerous step toward networks becoming state-run media. That's what they have in China. That's what they have in North Korea. That's what they have in Russia and other dictatorial, totalitarian nations. And that's what they want to bring to America. Total 100% censorship. That's why MAGA is furiously trying to buy TikTok, because they want people to be censored. That's why Democrats, you need to get your act together. Stop being cowards. Stand for what you believe and believe for what you stand. Learn how to raise money in an unprecedented fashion so that if any MAGA candidate comes up against you, you've got the money and the backing to crush them. You don't need passivity in the Democratic Party. You need boldness, fearlessness. Jasmine Crockett should not be out front by herself all the time. Where are the fearless men? We don't need politicians that are going to be conciliatory, speak with effeminate mannerisms every time they open their mouths. Talk like a man. Mean what you say and say what you say. Let the chips fall where they may. That's how you win elections. Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Rand Paul, they don't support anything worth listening to anytime, but censorship, that's a whole different type of conversation. Because if they censor individuals, if they censor the press, if they censor the newspapers, if they censor influencers, if they censor entertainers, then they're trying to censor everyday people from having dialogue even in their homes. This is not a game. Wake up. Pay attention to what's really going on. A game of deflection. A game of deflection is what's happening. They're trying to deflect. They're trying to change the trajectory of the conversation. Certain headlines they don't want out there every day. So they want to deflect. Let's talk about Eric Adams over in New York City that's been offered an ambassadorship if he'll get out of the mayoral race. He's not going to win anyway. He's not going to be the mayor again. I'll have that conversation in another video. So let me continue to go back to this article. So those two condemned the series of the events as a dangerous step toward networks becoming state-run media, with many framing it as a potential, quote, tipping point, end quote, moment if Disney didn't reverse its decision. Some people online pledged to unsubscribe and boycott Disney's subsidiaries such as Disney Plus and Hulu. They already did it. California Governor Gavin Newsom wrote on X, quote, the GOP does not believe in free speech. They're censoring you in real time, end quote. Former President Barack Obama also weighed in, writing, quote, after years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators. It doesn't, end quote. That's why Joy Reid was fired from MSNBC. Don Lemon was fired from Cowan, CNN. And then they hire some token black people. Ben Stiller wrote on X, quote, this isn't right, end quote. Jamie Lee Curtis, who previously shared a post grieving over Kirk, expressed her support for Kimmel. Emmy winner Jean Smart said she was, quote, horrified, end quote, by the move. Podcast pioneer Mark Moran wrote, quote, if you have any concern or belief in real freedom or the Constitution and free speech. This is the deciding moment. This is what authoritarianism looks like in this country. It's happening, end quote. Hollywood unions, including SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA, and WGA, slammed the decision, quote, the right to speak our minds and to disagree with each other, to disturb even, is at the very heart of what it means to be a free people, close quote. It is not to be denied, not by violence, not by the abuse of government power, nor by acts of corporate cowardice, end quote, on Monday. I'll get to that one in a minute. That's why I've said consistently on my channel, I could easily turn off the comments, but I don't. You know why? Because there is no censorship over here. Anyone and anybody is free to come on this platform. I don't care if you're MAGA, Republican, KKK, Proud Boys, white boys. I don't care if you hate black people, loathe black people, despise black people. I don't care about all that crap. You got a right to speak what's on your mind, but I have the right to respond. Never forget that. See? Just like you have that, just like they have the right to say what they want to say, I have the right to respond in the way that I choose to respond. The problem in this country with censorship is this, or would be censorship. They don't want anybody to oppose anything that they say. They don't want anyone to disagree with anything that they say. They don't want anyone to repudiate or dispute anything. Just take my word as being the gospel. And that's the bottom line. We can read between the lines. I know lies when I hear lies. I know propaganda when I hear propaganda. Anytime you can't open up your mouth and speak from your heart, you have your prepared notes before you. And you know you better do it because you'll be the next one to be fired. And on Monday, the American Civil Liberties Union released an open letter signed by some 400 actors, writers, musicians, and filmmakers, among them Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, Rami Youssef, and Kerry Washington, condemning Kimmel's suspension and supporting free speech. How come Fox hasn't been attacked for the vicious, ferocious ways that it's always trying to criminalize black people 24 hours a day? Unless you are an entertainer, singer, dancer, or an athlete, they don't have anything to say decent about black people on Fox. Never. They've never been censored. They've never been called into question. Anytime you have hosts on there adamantly talking about homeless people in such a disparaging way, but he got to keep his job with the flimsy apology. Had there been a Democrat that said that same crap, they would demand that his head be chopped off and everything else. And this is why censorship cannot happen in America. Learn to speak up for yourselves. And learn to speak responsibly, intelligently. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot say. Don't let anybody tell you how to think. That's what intellectual thought is about. No one controls my mind but me. No one controls my thought process but me. That's why I welcome everybody over here on Tyrone Bowman Live. We have been grinding for 3 years on this platform. I will never monetize this channel. I mean what I say. I will never take a dime from YouTube. Not one penny. It'll never become monetized because that's not what it's for. This is an uncompromising, unadulterated program. I don't need their money. I know how to make money on my own. I know too many people who have become enslaved to monetization. They can't think, they can't talk outside of the box because now you're bought and you're sold for. You know? He said, you sent $100. Sent $100 to who, Tony? You don't even have my Cash App, player. Be who you are. It's Gerald from Hey Arnold. All right, let me get back to this now. Even a voice within Carr's own FCC Commissioner, Ana M. Gomez, issued a lengthy statement criticizing the chairman's bullying. Quote, "We cannot allow an inexcusable act of political violence to be twisted into a justification for government censorship and control," end quote. She wrote, quote, "This FCC does not have the authority, the ability, or the constitutional right to police content or punish broadcasters for speech the government dislikes," end quote. Of course, Kimmel's return also comes at a tumultuous moment for late night TV. More generally, with Stephen Colbert's late show set to end in May, which has already ended, after being canceled by CBS. The decision by CBS raised eyebrows across the industry, coming just days before the FCC approved the transfer of broadcast licenses to its new owner, Skydance, effectively allowing the deal to close. I told you before, and I'm going to tell you again. All these people are friends. They drink together, they smoke together, they play golf together. They make these decisions in backroom, smoke-filled cigar rooms. On the golf course, they make these deals. And the decision is already made long before the contracts are drawn up. The decisions are already made long before they make their announcements. Decisions are already made before individuals can even make it to the finish line. They've already decided who's going to win the race. It's all rigged. All of it. It's rigged on both sides. Did you hear what I said? On both sides. On the Democratic side and on the Republican side. It's all rigged. Kimball's current contract, it should be noted, ends next year. And he has raised the specter of retirement in the past. Whether the suspension by ABC means that he is more likely to exit or double down and stay with the company remains to be seen. Kimmel should move on. You don't need the stress. You don't need the headaches. You don't need to worry. You don't need the sleepless nights. You can always start over again, Kimmel. You're not broke. You're not poor. You have name power and name recognition. And you can work for someone else with your creativity, your genius, your talents, and your abilities are respected. Okay. I gotta laugh. Bro, don't let that girl come over your house and eat up all your groceries. You know, I gotta laugh at some of this stuff. Listen, y'all, listen. I appreciate y'all coming on today. It's good, it's real. I appreciate all the subscribers we have, and we'll continue to bring you uncensored content on Tyrone Bowman Live. All right, gotta go for now. Never surrender, never quit.